I went into a spot a couple years ago. It was just, it's always been a producer. And I was sitting there the first morning. It was a beautiful morning. We had north wind, 5 miles an hour. It was about 28 degrees. There was snow, a fresh snow from overnight, and just a nice, steady snow coming down. It
I
was
love that.
beautiful.
Yep.
I'm sitting in a mix of pines and hardwoods, and it's just as beautiful as a morning.
That's Michigan, right? That's pure Michigan.
Dude, I'm telling you. But it's also pure Michigan because I didn't see a single deer. So the morning's getting long and I'm not seeing deer. And I know this spot, 8:30 in the morning. If there's deer around, they're coming through here.
Yeah.
Wasn't the case. And so by 10 o'clock, I think I had had enough and I just wasn't feeling it. And normally I would just be programmed to sit in there, just sit in there. And I got down and there really wasn't much for deer sign. And, you know, now in hindsight, I know that that had to do with the acorns, mass crop in that area was not there that year. And now it's something that I pay attention to because these areas will be vacated of deer. It's like one year it's real good. Why is it so good? There's acorns everywhere. And then, so anyways, got down, just had my stand sticks on my back and just went. And I'm following the topography, following edge, just looking for sign. And after about a mile, I found some really good sign, like concentration of deer tracks from that night, that morning, fresh poop, some rubs. There's a lot of deer in here. Right. And so pick a tree. Yeah, that makes sense. Get there, get my stand set up. And then I guess that would have been the November 14th because the following morning was opening morning. And so I elected to put that stand up and sneak out of there and plan and mark an entry route for the following morning for what the wind was saying that it was going to do. I was going to use the light and the time to get my entry with my breadcrumb trail on my mapping software just spot on so I could follow that in the morning because this was a new spot going in there in the morning. You can think you know exactly where you're going, but man, you miss a step and then the next thing you know, you're like way off and now you're walking around and it's not good. So went in there in the morning, followed my trail right back. And by 11:30, I hit grunt call a couple times. Just I like to do that. I think a lot of times within the thick vegetation up there, those deer can be 75 yards off of you and you'd never see it. And if it's quiet, the sound carries quite a bit up there. So I'll mimic what I've heard of deer chasing does around up there.
Oh yeah.
And
wait, how does that go? What does that look like?
Bat.
Crunching around. Do you crunch the leaves or anything?
Probably right here somewhere. Searching around. No, I don't. I'm up in the I like to be, that's it. I mean, I've never had to do more than that. You know, depending on how noisy or quiet the woods is, I'll bring that up or bring that down. You know, if the woods is real quiet, I'm pretty subtle about it. And then I'll just be still and I'll sit there and I'll wait. And a lot of times, and in this case, I'm sitting there, I'm still, and I see some movement coming through some pine trees. And then I see it's a deer, and then I see it's a buck, and then I see it's a decent buck. And he's working his way right towards me. And he got to like a fork in the trail where he could have went away from me or to me. And he decided to start going away from me. So I'm like, oh my God, you know, I don't really have a shot. It's probably like 75 yards through the forest. So I picked the grunt up and I hit it again, and he turned on a dime and just got down in the bird dogging thing, you know, and he just came running in looking for a fight. And I put one right through him with 12 gauge slug through him at like 40 yards. And he I mean, thank God I had the scope dialed all the way out.
Yeah.
Because I'm following him through this brush and he's coming fast, like right at me.
Just clip. Yeah. Just had a clip.
And I'm just like waiting for the scope to, I've got the scope on his shoulder, but I'm waiting for it to empty out of like brush and trees and everything, you know, to where all I see is deer. And I got that momentarily, pulled the trigger. He mule kicked and ran. I'm right on the edge of a cedar swamp. So he went running into the cedar swamp, and that's the last I saw or heard of him. And so I'm sitting there, heart's going through the chest. I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure I hit him good, but you know,
you never know when it's that thick and
when it happens moving that fast. Yep. The whole thing happened in 10 seconds. Yep. I feel like.
Yeah, of course. Yep. Totally.
So I go through all the emotions and I'm like, all right, you know, I've waited like 30 minutes. I'm going to at least get down and look and see what the blood looks like. And so I pack my bag, drop my bag down, drop my firearm down, and I flip the seat up, go over. I go down one stick and I turn and look over and he's piled up dead right there, like 20 yards. So I was like, man, you know, if I hadn't gotten down yesterday and moved and found this hot sign and got on it and hung here, I would not have this deer killed.